stopped breathing when I heard it, my name. It's crystal clear through the glass at 12:01 a.m. Not the wind mimicking syllables or my exhausted brain playing tricks. The oak tree outside my bedroom window spoke my full name, the one nobody uses anymore, the one buried with my mother 6 years ago. My phone lit up on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. Come closer to the window. I didn't move, couldn't move. The tree's branches scraped against the glass in a rhythm that sounded like tapping fingers, patient and deliberate. 3 taps. Pause. 3 more. I bought this house because it was cheap, because I needed somewhere to disappear after everything fell apart. The realtor mentioned the tree was over 200 years old, said it was a selling point, historical charm or some bullshit like that. She didn't mention the way its branches seemed to reach specifically for my bedroom window. Even though there were 3 other windows it could have grown toward. The whispering started my first night here. I'd convinced myself it was leaves rustling, old house settling, the usual explanations people use to stay sane. But leaves don't form consonants. Leaves don't pause between sentences like they're waiting for responses. And leaves definitely don't learn your name. I pulled my blanket up to my chin like I was 7 years old again, hiding from closet monsters. The tree's shadow stretched across my ceiling, and I swear to God the branches were forming shapes, letters, words. They spelled out, "Remember me." My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and called Marcus. He answered on the 5th ring, voice thick with sleep and irritation. It's midnight. What the hell? The tree is talking to me, I whispered. Silence on the other end. Then his long, exhausted sigh, the one he'd perfected during our last 3 months together before I moved out here. You need to see someone. This isolation isn't healthy. He hung up before I could explain that I wasn't crazy, that this was real. That something was fundamentally wrong with the tree outside my window. Another text appeared. He won't believe you. No one will. Come to the window. I looked up, and every branch was completely still now. Despite the wind, I could hear howling outside. The tree was focused, waiting. I don't know what possessed me, maybe curiosity, maybe the kind of exhaustion that makes you reckless, but I walked to the window. The moment my face was an inch from the glass, all the branches slammed against it simultaneously. The entire window frame shuddered, but didn't break. Carved into the bark facing me were names. Dozens of them. Some looked fresh, the wood still pale and exposed. I recognized one name immediately. Sarah Chen, the woman who owned this house before me, the one who died here. The realtor said natural causes, said Sarah was old, that these things happen. But Sarah was 43, and I found her reading glasses in the kitchen drawer, her coffee mug still in the sink with residue dried at the bottom. Sold fast because her family wanted it gone. I pressed my palm against the window, and the glass was ice cold despite the summer heat. Frost began spreading from where my hand touched, creating patterns that looked deliberately designed. They formed an image, a girl, maybe 8 or 9, standing beside the tree. Beneath her, the frost-etched words, "She planted me." My breath came in short gasps. The girl in the frost looked familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. She had my eyes, my mother's nose, or the same crooked smile I saw in old family photos buried in boxes I hadn't unpacked yet. Another text, your great-great-grandmother, Tony Mize. She was 9. The tree's branches began swaying again. And this time, the whisper was clear enough that I heard it without pressing my ear to the glass. Blood calls to blood. I stumbled backward, tripping over the laundry pile I'd been ignoring for a week. My laptop was on the floor, still open to the genealogy website I'd been half-heartedly browsing days ago. I'd been searching for family history, trying to fill the emptiness of having no one left who remembered the stories. The screen had changed. I didn't touch it, but it had navigated to a different Paja death record from 1933. Eleanor Vance, aged 18. Cause of death, found beneath the oak tree on her property. Exposure. The property address matched my house. My house. Eleanor's house. The tree she planted when she was 9 years old. I grabbed my car keys. I would leave, drive to a motel, deal with this in daylight with witnesses around. But when I reached the bedroom door, it wouldn't open. The handle turned, but something held it shut from the other side. Something strong. "Let me out," screamed, throwing my shoulder against the wood. The tree's whisper came again, softer now, almost gentle. "Stay. We have so much to discuss, little sapling." The frost on my window spread until the entire pane was covered. Images appeared in rapid succession like a slideshow. Eleanor planting the tree, Eleanor at 15 reading beside it, Eleanor at 17 crying into its roots, Eleanor at 18 with her hands around someone's throat. That last image froze, became clearer. The person Eleanor was strangling was a man twice her size, and she was winning. Her face held an expression of pure rage, but her eyes were vacant, like someone else was controlling her actions. The whisper came again. I protected her, gave her strength when she needed it most. He was going to hurt her. I made her strong enough to stop him. Another image appeared, a body being buried at the base of the tree, Eleanor digging with bloody hands. She fed me willingly, blood to roots. And then, ... double quotes, the image shifted to Eleanor hanging from one of the branches, a rope around her neck, her face peaceful. She gave herself to me completely. I was going to vomit. My ancestor was a murderer, and the tree, this fucking tree, had helped her do it, then taken her life as payment, and now it wanted me. Not payment, the whisper hissed, suddenly angry. The branches slammed against the window again. Love. She loved me. I loved her. We became one. My phone buzzed continuously now, text after text, like she loved me. You will too. I've waited so long for family to return. Eleanor's blood runs in you. You belong here. You belong to me. I tried the window next, thinking maybe I could climb down, but it was sealed shut. Not locksealed, like the frame had been welded into the wall. Through the frost and darkness, I saw something that made my heart stop. There were faces in the tree trunk, not carved, growing, embedded in the wood like bodies trapped beneath the surface. Sarah Chen's face was the newest, her mouth open in a silent scream, her eyes tracking my movement. Above her, a dozen others, some so old they were barely recognizable as human anymore. And at the center, perfectly preserved, was Eleanor, looking exactly like the frost drawings showed her. They weren't family, the whisper explained. They couldn't understand, couldn't hear me properly. But you heard me from the first night. Alino's gift runs true in you. I backed into the corner farthest from the window, pulling my knees to my chest. This wasn't happening. This was a breakdown, stress-induced psychosis, something rational and treatable. Trees don't talk. Trees don't eat people. Trees don't. The floor beneath me creaked. And I felt something moving under the hardwood. Roots. The tree's roots were directly beneath my room, and they were growing, pressing upward. A thin crack appeared in the floor, and I watched in horror as a white tendril pushed through, questing blindly like a worm. The house was built around me, the tree whispered proudly. Eleanor designed it that way. Its bedroom directly above my heart, close enough to touch. It's close enough to feed. The root found my leg and wrapped around my ankle before I could move. So it's rough and dry, but strong, so impossibly strong. It yanked me flat onto my back, and more roots burst through the floor. They pinned my arms, wrapped around my waist, slithered across my throat like a collar. I screamed until my voice went raw, but I already knew the truth. The nearest neighbor was 3 miles away. That was another selling point the realtor had mentioned. Privacy, seclusion, no one to hear you scream. She, the tree whispered, almost crooning. I won't hurt you like the others. You're special. You're family. Eleanor promised me that one day, her bloodline would return home. The roots weren't squeezing, just holding, keeping me still. Through the window, I saw the branches parting like a curtain, revealing the full moon behind them. The faces in the trunk were all looking at me now, and I realized with dawning horror that they were trying to warn me, their mouths forming the same word over and over, run, but I couldn't run. The roots had pulled me to the exact center of the room, directly above what the tree called its heart. I felt a pulse beneath me, steady and slow, beating through the earth and into my spine. I can give you what Eleanor had, the whisper offered. Strength, protection, power over those who would hurt you. You've been hurt so much, haven't you, Marcus? Your job, your family, all gone. I can feel that emptiness. It was true, all of it. I'd lost everyone, failed at everything. I care, the tree said. I've been calling you here for months. The real estate listing you found, I made sure you saw it. The loan you thought you'd never get approved for, I have deep roots in this town, in the bank manager's garden. Everything to bring you home to me. My laptop screen glowed brighter. The genealogy site now showed a family tree. It went back generations, and every single person had died young. Accidents, illness, strange circumstances, all except the ones who had no children. The line had almost died out so many times, but it never quite disappeared. I kept the line alive, the tree whispered, reaching out through my roots, through every garden and forest I touched, keeping Eleanor's descendants safe enough to continue, waiting for the right one, the one who would hear me. You. The roots loosened slightly, giving me enough freedom to sit up. On the floor next to me, they had arranged themselves into words. Choose freely. I won't force you like the others, the tree said. Your family. Eleanor chose me willingly. I want you to choose the same. Stay with me. Let me protect you, love you. We can be whole together. I looked at the faces in the trunk, their warning expressions. Then at my phone, the last text from Marcus still visible. You need to see someone. At the laptop showing all my dead relatives. At this room that had become my prison. If I say no, I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The roots tightened just enough to remind me they were there. Then you're not family. Just another trespasser on Eleanor's land. Just another face for my collection. There it was. The choice that wasn't a choice. Die now, or die later after God knows what kind of existence. Unless... Can I think about it? I asked carefully. This is a big decision. Life-changing. You waited almost 100 years for me. Surely you can wait one more day. The branches outside rustled in what might have been laughter. Smart. Just like Eleanor. Very well. One day. But you won't leave this room. Won't call for help. The roots stay close. The roots unwrapped from my limbs but didn't retreat through the floor. They coiled in the corners like sleeping snakes, watching, waiting. The sky outside was lightening. Somehow hours had passed. Dawn was coming. I spent that day searching every inch of the room. There had to be something, some weakness, some answer. In the closet, behind a loose board, I found Eleanor's diary. The last entry was dated the day before she died. It won't let me go. I thought I was using it, but it was using me all along, growing into my mind like roots into soil. The man I killed, he was innocent. It's just a traveler asking directions. The tree made me see a monster. It's made me kill to feed it. Now, it wants more. Always more. It's anyone who finds this. Salt the earth. Burn the roots. Don't let it spread. The page was stained with tears and something darker. Blood, maybe. And at the bottom, scratched so hard the pen tore through. I'm so sorry. That night, at exactly midnight, the tree spoke again. Time's up, little sapling. What do you choose? I stood at the window, looking at Eleanor's face trapped in the bark. She had tried to warn me. They all had. And I finally understood the tree didn't want companionship. It wanted to spread. Through me. Through any children I might have. Eleanor's bloodline carrying its seed to new places. New towns. New victims. I choose. ... I pressed both palms against the window glass. To be with my family. The tree's branches lifted in what might have been joy. Its thrones surged up through the floor, reaching for me. And I ran not away from them, but toward the window, throwing every pound of my weight against it. The old glass shattered. I felt roots grab my legs as I went through, felt them tear through my skin as I fell to stories. I hit the ground hard enough to break things, but I rolled, crawled, clawed my way across the yard. Behind me, the tree was screaming, actual scream, tearing through the night. Lights appeared in the distant neighbor's house. Someone had finally heard. I looked back once. The roots were retreating, and the faces in the bark were smiling. Eleanor was smiling. I had chosen my family, but not the tree. I chose the victims. The warning. The fire department found me unconscious in the driveway, both legs shattered, hypothermia setting in despite the summer warmth. When I could finally speak, I told them to cut down the tree, but the house had already burned. Electrical fire, they said, started in my bedroom. Atis found the bodies, of course, wrapped in the roots, feeding the tree. Sarah, Chen, and the others. T's body was never recovered. It's just an empty space in the trunk where her face used to be. I'm writing this from the hospital. I say, I'll walk again eventually. Marcus even visited, guilty enough to care for a moment. But here's the thing that keeps me awake, the thing the nurses think is just paranoid delusion. There's a sapling growing in the planter outside my window. It wasn't there yesterday. And last night, at midnight, I heard the faintest whisper through the glass, in Eleanor's voice this time. We can wait. Blood calls to blood. And roots always find a way. The nurse waters it every morning.